Am I the asshole for not forgiving my parents and sister after they cut me off? I had an affair with her husband. When I was 16, I had an affair with my sister's husband. Yeah, let that sink in. I was a stupid, lonely, attention-starved teenager who fell for the first man that looked at me like I mattered. He was 24, married to my sister, and fully aware I was a kid. But he made me feel seen. Told me I was mature, that she didn't understand him, that we had a connection. I ate that crap up like a starving dog. It felt real, until the bomb dropped. My sister found out. She didn't just confront me, she destroyed me. Publicly, she told everyone. Our friends, our extended family, even people at church. She made it her mission to paint me as the evil slut who seduced her poor, helpless husband. And the wildest part, she stayed with him. She forgave him, married him, had kids with him. But me, I was done. Cancelled, blacklisted, thrown out like trash. My parents didn't even flinch. They kicked me out within 24 hours like I was some disease. No questions, no, what the hell happened? Just a cold, pack your things and leave. I was 16, no job, no clue where to go. I ended up couch hopping, then living with my grandparents for a while. And that was just the beginning of their punishment. Everywhere I went, they followed me like a damn curse. I'd get a new job, start rebuilding, then boom. Someone would get a message or a call about me being a homewrecker. My parents, my own blood, spreading rumors, sabotaging every shred of progress I made. I wasn't even a person to them anymore, just a cautionary tale. People didn't even have to say anything. The way they'd look at me, like I was disgusting, like they knew. That kind of shame digs into your bones. So I ran. Packed a bag and left the city behind. New name on my mailbox, new number, new life. Or so I thought. Because now, after more than a decade of radio silence, they found me. And they have the audacity to ask for help. So after over a decade of silence, no birthdays, no apologies, no, how are you? They send me a message. Not even a call. A message. And it wasn't even about me. Not really. It was about her. Serna. My sister. Here's the rundown. Her husband, the one she defended, stayed with, chose over her own sister, cheated again. Shocker, right? Serial cheaters don't magically become saints. This time, he didn't just cheat. He left. For some new woman. And now Serna is alone, raising 2 kids. One with disabilities, the other on the spectrum. She's struggling. And here come my parents, all soft-voiced and guilt-soaked, trying to crawl back into my life with a sob story and a favor. Here's the actual message, more or less. We've been through so much pain and we regret the way things unfolded. We know we made mistakes. We've missed out on your life, your children, and it hurts. Serna's struggling now. Her husband left, and she's doing everything alone. We want to help, but we can't afford to. If there's any way you could offer support or guidance for her and the children, it would mean the world to us. We love you. Are you kidding me? Where the hell was this love when I was a scared teenager getting kicked out with a trash bag full of clothes? Where was it when you sent emails to my jobs calling me unstable? Where was it when I was scraping together enough money to buy ramen, sleeping in a cold room at my grandma's place, wondering if I was even worth being alive? And now you remember you have a daughter? Now that your golden child is struggling and you need something from the disgrace of the family? I showed the message to my husband, and I could see the vein in his neck throbbing. This man has stood by me through every breakdown, every nightmare. He knows the damage they did. And when he read it, he asked me one question. Do you want me to respond for you? Because I'll burn them to the ground with a single email. I haven't answered them. Not yet. Part of me wants to ignore it. Let them sit with the silence they once handed me so easily. But another part of me, the petty, wounded, still pissed part, wants to let my husband write that damn letter. Because they didn't come back for me. They came back because I finally built a life without them. And now they want in. Too fucking late. After everything my so-called family put me through, I stopped believing in that word. Family. It felt hollow. A joke people told themselves to justify toxic loyalty. Until I met Mark and Helen. It happened not long after I left the city. I was maybe 19. Still dealing with the trauma, still expecting the world to chew me up again. I had my own place by then, a tiny apartment with mold in the bathroom and a heater that worked when it felt like it. But it was mine. And next door lived this older couple who waved at me every morning like clockwork. Real, grandma and grandpa next door, vibes. One day, I locked myself out of my apartment barefoot and in pajamas. I was panicking, embarrassed, about to cry on the stairs, when Helen opened the door and said, "Oh honey, come inside. You look like you need soup." That was the first time I stepped into their home. Warm. Smelled like cinnamon. She made me tea. Mark told me terrible dad jokes. And I didn't realize until halfway through that my whole body had unclenched for the first time in years. They never pressured me to talk, but one day, I did. Told them everything. The affair. The fallout. The exile. I expected the same judgment I'd always gotten. Helen just looked at me and said, "You made a mistake. That doesn't mean you are a mistake." I think I cried for like 2 hours. They never treated me like I was broken. They just loved me. Showed up for me. Holidays, birthdays, when I got promoted at work, they were there. Mark even walked me down the aisle at my wedding when I told him I didn't want a single soul from my blood family present. When I had kids, Mark and Helen were grandma and grandpa from day one. They spoiled my babies rotten, babysat, told them stories. My oldest still calls them every Sunday just to talk about football and life. So no. I wasn't alone. I lost my family, but I found one too. And that's the part that stings the most about that message. Not because they want forgiveness, but because they have no idea who I've become without them. They think I'm still the broken little girl begging for scraps of love. But I've healed. I've built a home. I've got people who'd never let me starve, who see me as more than my worst mistake. And now these ghosts from the past want to come crawling back because their world's on fire? Let it burn. Let me just say this, I am not some cold-hearted villain. I know what I did was awful. I've had to live with it for decades. Therapy, self-loathing, trying to be a better person, it's been a journey. And I own my part in the hell that happened when I was 16. But I also know that forgiveness, real forgiveness, isn't something you just ask for when you're backed into a corner. It's not a get-out-of-consequences-free card you throw out when life finally kicks you in the teeth. Because let's be honest, they didn't want my forgiveness. They wanted help. They wanted access to the stable, warm life I built without them. What they didn't say outright but heavily implied was this. You're doing well. We're suffering. You owe us. No. I don't. When I was at rock bottom, sleeping on a cot in my grandparents' musty back room, heating up canned soup and crying myself to sleep, where were they? When I had to drop out of college because they poisoned my reputation at 2 of my jobs, where were they? When I gave birth to my first child and cried alone in the hospital because I didn't have a mother to hold my hand or tell me I'd be okay, where the hell were they? They chose to cut me off. Not just cut off, but actively destroy what little I was trying to hold on to. And now they want to swoop in and play the sympathy card because Serna got burned by the same man she chose to stay with. It's the entitlement that really gets me. Like my success is just sitting there waiting for them to claim a piece of it. They didn't come crawling back with humility, they came with expectations. And my sister? Don't even get me started. She called me a seductress. Told people I tricked her husband. I was 16. He was in his 30s. But sure, it was all my fault. And after she forgave him, she made it her personal mission to make sure no one ever forgave me. Now she's a single mom drowning in responsibilities and suddenly I'm supposed to step in like a savior? You want me to save the woman who spent years making sure everyone saw me as human garbage? Tell me again how I'm the one who should be forgiving. My husband thinks I should let him write the email. No filter. No sugarcoating. Just raw truth. A middle finger wrapped in eloquence. I'm honestly tempted. But a bigger part of me thinks the worst thing I can do, the most powerful response, is silence. The same silence they gave me when I needed them most. I don't owe them a damn thing. I sat at the dining table for an hour just staring at my phone. That message was still there, dripping with guilt, fake humility, and quiet manipulation. Every word oozed, "We love you," like those words were some sort of healing balm for 15 years of being treated like a cockroach. I almost responded. I even drafted a reply. It was long, scathing, brutal. I didn't hold back. I told them how I begged them to listen. Told them how I'd stood on the edge, more than once, ready to end it all because I believed I was the monster they said I was. Told them how they turned a 16-year-old's worst mistake into a lifelong curse. And then I stopped. Deleted the whole thing. I didn't send it. Because here's the truth, they don't get to take up space in my life anymore. They don't get the satisfaction of hearing from me. Not my rage, not my forgiveness, not my pity. They abandoned me when I needed love the most, and now they want to cash in on my healing? My stability? My family? You don't get to ghost someone for a decade, ruin their name, sabotage their future, and then come back with your tail between your legs asking for financial support because your golden child got played by the same scumbag she defended. You don't get to say, "We love you," now that it's convenient. I told my husband he could write the letter if he wanted, but I wasn't going to read it. I didn't want their poison entering my life again, even through ink. He drafted something fierce. Let's just say it ended with, "If you're drowning, it's because you spent years throwing everyone else overboard." But I never gave him the green light to send it. Instead, I opened a bottle of wine, sat down with my youngest, and helped her with her college application essay. She's thinking about becoming a therapist. Wants to help people through trauma. Funny how the cycle breaks when you choose love over legacy. My parents and sister may never know the version of me that bloomed from the ashes they left behind. They'll never meet my kids, never hold my grandbabies one day, never sit at my table. And that's the consequence of their choices. Not mine. There's something bittersweet about watching your kids grow up into exactly the kind of people you wished you had around when you were younger. My oldest, 23 now, is the kind of man who holds doors open for strangers and still kisses me on the cheek when he leaves the house. My second child is loud, opinionated, protective. She once told a friend off at school for making a joke about daddy issues. She said, "My mom made our family. What have you done?" I cried in the car that day. And then there's my youngest, 17, the one with the heart too big for her chest. She asks questions like, if someone hurts you but says sorry years later, do they deserve a second chance? And I just freeze. Because how do you explain to a child that some apologies are weapons disguised as peace offerings? That's what this message was. Not an apology. A guilt trip. A hook on a fishing line they cast into my peaceful waters, hoping to reel in support, money, access. Not love. Never love. But I have love. So much of it. Mark and Helen, God, those two saved me. I met them when I was 19, working at a little bookstore in a new city, trying to lay low, blend in, rebuild. Mark would come in every Friday and buy the exact same mystery novel for his collection, because, as I learned later, he'd read them all already. He just wanted to talk. To check in. Helen was the one who really cracked me open though. She told me, one night over tea, that people who survive things often think they owe the world silence. But survivors owe the world truth. Even if it's ugly. I told her what I'd done. She didn't flinch. She said, "You were a kid. You made a terrible mistake. It wasn't your burden to carry alone. They never tried to replace my parents. They just showed up. Every birthday. Every heartbreak. Every parent-teacher conference. When I got married, my husband danced with Helen during the mother-son dance. Mark gave a speech and cried harder than my own father ever had. They were mine. They still are. So no, I won't forgive my biological family. Not because I'm bitter, but because forgiveness requires accountability. And they've shown none. Serna's husband cheated again. Color me shocked. She's now stuck with 2 kids, one disabled, one neurodivergent. And I do feel bad for the kids. They didn't ask for any of this. But they also aren't my responsibility. I have my own family to raise. My own legacy to protect. My children don't need toxic people coming in like ghosts from a past I fought tooth and nail to bury. And I don't need to open a door that took me decades to bolt shut. They asked me for forgiveness, for support, for help. But the truth is, they're asking the wrong person. They should be asking themselves. Because I am no longer the girl who begged to be seen. I'm the woman who saved herself. A few nights after the message, I dreamt about Serna. We were standing in our childhood kitchen. She was cooking something, sauce boiling over, a baby crying in the background. She looked tired, older, like all the weight she carried finally broke through her skin. She turned to me and said, "Aren't you going to help me?" I said nothing. Because in the dream, and in real life, I had nothing left to give her. I woke up angry at myself for even feeling guilt in my sleep. That's how deep their roots went. Even after all these years, my brain still tried to make me the villain in their disaster. But here's the thing no one tells you about healing. It's not some one-time epiphany or perfect moment of closure. It's little decisions. Daily ones. Choosing yourself over and over again, even when it feels selfish. Especially when it feels selfish. They want me to feel like the missing piece in their broken puzzle. But I'm not. I'm not the redemption arc in their story. I'm the goddamn author of mine. They weren't there when I bled. When I worked 2 jobs while breastfeeding. When I stayed up nights wondering if I'd end up just like them, cold, bitter, cruel. They weren't there when I fought the urge to self-destruct every time I looked in the mirror and saw her face, the sister who spat my name like it was a curse. So no, I won't send money. I won't reply. I won't even give them the satisfaction of rejection. I will go on loving my kids fiercely. I'll hold Helen's hand on her 80th birthday and thank her again for seeing me when no one else did. I'll take my husband's hand on our porch and laugh at how our youngest just got accepted into her dream school. And I will continue to live loudly, joyfully, and unapologetically. Because surviving isn't enough. You have to thrive in spite of them. So to my parents and to Serna, if you're reading this somehow, I don't hate you. I just don't know you anymore. And I think I'm finally okay with that.